Hello Jeremy, this is your fantastic fish tank. Since you are not here, I'm going to walk you through the fish tank through this video. It'll help you reference everything that you need to know about the tank afterwards. But let's start over here. The water's flowing down these pipes and they are going to go through these filter socks. The way you're going to change these filter socks is you're just going to slide this drawer out and then you're going to pull the sock up out of the drawer. It's a little one-handed, so it's a little hard. But you're going to pull these socks out of this drawer, and what you're going to do is you're going to flip this sock inside out, and then you're going to take it into the washing machine with a little bit of bleach and an extra rinse cycle afterwards. That's going to clean these socks up for you. These socks pretty much last forever, but they do clog fairly quickly. So some people like to get a nice rotation of socks to clean out the tank. But once you're done cleaning the socks, let them air dry. Put them back into their little cradle and slip them back into the drawer like so. Alright, so the water flows through these socks, and when they get dirty the water is going to start to overflow over the sock and over the side. That's when you need to change the sock out. It's going to hit in this chamber over here, and you're going to have the protein skimmer. The skimmer, you're going to adjust this dial to raise the bubbles higher or lower. I've got it set pretty open right now because the tank's a bit cloudy, but over time what you're going to do is you're going to turn this little dot so that the bubbles inside of the skimmer get up right about in between this area, in between this black area and this black area. The skimate's going to start to fill and exit out of this cup, and it's going to be this cup is going to get filled with dirty, gunky water. Once it gets pretty full with dirty, gunky water, all you're going to have to do is wiggle this cup off. So what I like to do is take my hand here and just kind of push it forward, and the cup will come right off. I'm one-handed right now, so I can't do it. But you're just going to wiggle that off, take it out to the sink, rinse it out, and plop it back on. That's all you've got to do there. We've got a little bit more water in the sump than what you'll normally see. But the water's going to then flow over into your main pump chamber. Your main pump sits here. Basically, if you're worried about it running, just kind of put your hand on it. You should feel it vibrating. Over here is your auto top-off system. There is a little sensor on the auto top-off, which is that little clear piece there. That's your low sump sensor, and that's your high sump sensor there. And what that's going to do is whenever the water goes under that sensor, it's going to trigger the auto top off to turn on and pump fresh water into the tank until those sensors are completely underwater. From time to time, those sensors can get dirty. So what you want to do is you want to just take your finger and wipe and clean these sensors off, especially if the auto top off's not working. There's one here, and there's one on that back side that you just have to reach for. The auto top off line is going to this pump here, and what you're going to do is you're just going to drop this pump into your jug. I tried to fit a 5-gallon bucket into this area, but it didn't fit, so I think you just should get a jug. It's a little narrower, but it still holds 5 gallons. And just drop that pump right in there, and the auto top off should turn itself on and off for you. Over here on this panel, this is the auto top off controller here. When it's flashing green, that's pretty normal. It's flashing red, then that's a problem. And if there's a alarm, it's telling you that something's going wrong. But if it ever needs to be reset, you're just going to go to the power, pull that power cord out, give it a second or so, and push that power cord back in. That will reset your ATO and make it run again. That's all that's for the top off. Now this is your dosing container, your dosing pump. Maybe bookmark this portion of the video. I'm going to run through it here real quick so you know how to deal with it and take care of it. So the pumps go 4, 3, 2, 1. So in reverse order. If you press the right arrow, that's going to bring in a manual pump. And that's how you're going to prime the pumps and just make sure that they're running. So you're going to press the right arrow and hold the enter key down until the liquid runs. You'll hear those pumps run, and just make sure that the liquids are exiting out of your dosing, your tube holder here. Each tube corresponds with one pump, so you'll see them pump one at a time. To change the amount your tank is dosing, you're going to press the center button, you're going to go down to set program, and then press the center button again. So select pump again, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to program pump number 1 real quick. Pump number 1, this is how many times a day you want it to dose. Once a day is fine. Press enter. Intervals per day is, if it's 0, it's every day. If it's 1, it's every other day. If it's 2, it's every 2 days. Let it dose once a day. And this is the dosing volume, so you're going to tell it how much to dose in the tank. We'll kind of walk you through on how much to dose. We're going to set it to 1 right now because there's nothing that needs to be dosed for the tank. Press enter, and this is going to be the time. As long as it's not dosing at the same time, you're perfectly fine. So this is going to dose at 11 a.m. You can go and do that same thing for all of these pumps here. Since we're not pumping anything, we're really not going to worry about it now, but just use this portion of the video later to program and set your pumps. We've calibrated this already, but every 6 months or so you want to calibrate your pumps, and the way you do that is you're going to press the up arrow, you're going to press correct pumps, and then what you're going to do is you're going to measure out 100 milliliters of water. So you're going to stick a little graduated cylinder, just something that has 100 milliliters for you, and you're going to have the pump in to that graduated cylinder. So what's going to happen is it's going to continue to pump and pump, and then once it hits 100 milliliters, press the up arrow, and that's going to give you a number. It should be pretty close to this number here, but that's how you're going to calibrate these pumps. And you can do that for pumps 1 through 4. So that is the programming of this guy. That's all you need to know for the most part for the dosing pump. Over here you've got your main pump controller. You don't need to worry about that at all, but if you want to go ahead and turn off your pump and not anything else, just pull out this cord here and that's going to turn off the pump. The only thing you really need to know is if your pump's not running, this is what you're going to look at, and it's going to tell you why it's not running. It's going to be flashing some lights. But normal operation, that's what the lights should look like. So these are your power supplies, your power strips. The top one will deal with mostly the lights and the dosers. The bottom one will deal mostly with your skimmers, your filters, your heater, and everything important. So if you're going to shut down your tank, just hit this bottom one, and that should keep your lights on so you can continue to do some work. Up here we've got a nice little cabinet LED light for you. That's just going to help you do some work in here whenever you need to do it. And this is the remote for it. So just point the remote at your IR sensor, and that's going to turn the light on and off for you. I left the remote on top of the dosing pump. Now this portion is going to be fairly important. So the water flows down this main tube here. So when the water flows down there, it's going to exit and go down to this point. This round knob is your control valve. That valve is going to control the water level that's in the back of the tank. So what you're seeing right now is a pretty good water level. What this drain is your main drain. This drain over here is your emergency drain. You don't want much water flowing down that emergency drain. It's going to cause some noise issues for you if it's flowing down this emergency drain. So we want to tweak and tune the tank to get it as quiet as possible. So right now we've got too much water flowing down the emergency drain. So what we're going to do is we're going to head down to the main valve, and you're going to turn this main valve counterclockwise just a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch, and then walk away. Give it a minute or two for everything to equalize, and then you're going to check to see if that main drain is still draining. So if it is, just come back and do it once more. And just keep it in very low increments so you don't throw things out of whack. But so counterclockwise, a counterclockwise turn will lower the water in here. A clockwise turn will raise the water in here. And the idea is just to get the water in between the two pipes here. But for the most part, most of the time you're going to run into water going down the main drain, so turn it counterclockwise. Tank looks good. You've got some controllers over off to the side as well. The two controllers with the green lights are going to be your power heads. The power heads, just leave them at max power, and pretty much as long as they're running, they should be doing their job. Over here is your Kessel controller. So this is going to be where you're going to set and configure the lights. I'm going to run through this real quick, but there's an online video that's going to do much better than I will. So over here, we're going to go to settings, and just make sure the date and time is correct. Make sure, I don't know what time it is now, but I'm going to assume that's right. And then this is port 1, so any changes you're going to do is just set it to port 1. We've already got the lights programmed for you. But if you want to change these times, go ahead and change them. You may want to change them to when you come home from work and then when you go to bed at night. So just start from there, and it's in military time, but if you have any issues with it, you can always bring this controller in. We'll program it for you and take care of it. I'm not quite sure what time you want it to turn on and off, so I'm going to leave it be for now. And that's the gist of the tank more than anything. So basically, the most important thing is just make sure there's no water in the liner whenever you're going to open up. Make sure your protein skimmer is filled, and make sure your ATO container is filled. Everything else will mostly take care of itself. If you have any questions, give me a shout. Thanks.